Hi, and welcome back to the Retro Den podcast. And today I have a guest with me, Marcus. How are we doing?
All right, buddy, how are we?
Yeah, all right. How, how long we known each other?
Since college, mate. Since college, weren't it, when we studied film and TV?
So that'd be eight years. 8 years.
It's been a
Hey,
while, hasn't it?
yeah, that's nearly a decade. I
Yeah,
mean, we're blinking it'll be a decade. 10 years. Wow. Well, like most sitcoms nowadays don't last that long.
yeah. That's one way of putting it, mate. Time moves fast. Time moves very fast.
Oh yeah. So, tell the people listening, who are you and what do you do?
Well, I'm a jack of all trades. uh, Basically, mate. Yeah, I like to write scripts and make films. Essentially, that's pretty much it, isn't it? I would say I'm more drawn towards writing, directing, and acting, just from my past portfolio stuff. But I like all cinema and I like all aspects of it. So
Hmm.
yeah, pretty much.
Is it fair to say you have a bit of like a maybe a preference for horror? Would you say preference?
Definitely, definitely. Obviously, you've known me for quite a while, and we went to university and that together. And I'm pretty dark minded, I would say.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, you wouldn't think
Definitely.
it just from like knowing you. Like you as a you're very like light and like bubbly and outgoing, but the the stuff you write is like, well, was it someone being buried alive in one of
Yeah,
them?
yeah.
Um oh, what else? Like someone having like a pill habit in another one.
Yes. Everything that's sparked me, I guarantee I've wrote about. That's it's a fascination. I mean, when I was like 14, 15, as a kid, mate, I was watching crime documentaries, and I don't know. I've
Well, and
got a
that
morbid fascination.
and that's had a
Yeah,
bit of an impact on you, would you say?
definitely. Yeah, definitely. I've always been interested in just, like taboo topics and stuff. I'm
Mm.
just always interested in it.
Is it that sort of like the forbidden fruit thing? That because something is like forbidden, people are more interested in it.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
I think so. The thing is, mate, as a child, I'm well aware now that I'm older. I kind of learn like what's made me who I am today. But for sure, I've always been very curious, and when I've not known the answer to a question, I've always kind of kept developing it and researching into it. So yeah, I've always had a morbid fascination over the kind of the taboo subjects, the standard stuff like life after death and like very serious subjects, really, very very controversial subjects. Yeah, but they're
The big
fascinating.
questions. Hmm.
The big questions, mate. You've got it.
Yeah, I completely understand that, mate. Yeah. So why horror? Because a lot of other genres deal with dark topics, but why horror?
It's fun and it's just fun, mate. It's exciting. Uh, I would say that like horror, like I would say horror film when I watch them, they give me a thrill, but they don't necessarily give me a thrill. It's just uh, the feeling that I get from like watching horror films. They're just fun to watch, mate. I find them very interactive. I really do. Like when you're
Hmm.
watching a horror film, before the events have even happened, you're already asking yourself who, what, when, and why. You know what I mean? Like there's a killer on the loose. I find them very interactive, and I don't think any other genre does that for me personally.
Were there any specific horror films that you'd say have had a, a big impact on you as a horror fan?
Wow, loads. Uh, the original, in all fairness, the original Poltergeist.
Was that 1980s?
Yeah, yes, mate. The original one was, I seen that as a kid, and the specific scene. Spoiler alert, by the way. He kind of like rips his own face off in the mirror. That scene that stuck with me this whole time. So it must have made some impact. Yeah. So that's a good scene. That's a good scene.
How old were you when you saw that?
Like 13, 12. I think I was
Right.
12 actually.
Oh, okay. Well, you said as a kid, I imagine you as an 8-year-old watching that. Oh,
No, no. So I was a bit older. Yeah. I think I'm about 12, mate. Yeah.
right.
Uh, but vivid, I've always had a vivid imagination. So seeing that, I remember when I seen that, I was like, Jesus, like wow, like that stuck with me. That stuck with me.
Hmm.
What
Sound of a
about
good film,
yourself? Have
that.
you seen?
I haven't seen the film, but I have seen the scene. It's come up
Yeah,
before,
because
and
it's quite iconic now.
yeah, no, it's some weird thing in the US. I think it's like some because before they had the PG-13 rating, they had like G, PG, R, and X. I think
Yeah,
Poltergeist ended up getting a PG rating.
uh, yeah. Don't quote me on that, but I know what you're on about. Yeah, I'm not sure myself. You know, with that, I'm not sure myself. I'll
Hmm.
take your word for it, though.
Again, like I have to fact check, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
but no, that's strange that, and it's weird because you hear stories of kids watching these films and almost like actively seeking these out. So,
yeah.
but that's not really something you normally think of. Like often you think of like, oh, this is too graphic for kids. Kids wouldn't want to watch this, but kids kind of do want to watch it. Again, going back to the whole forbidden fruit thing. Uh, were there any other films that influenced you?
Yeah, Jaws.
Oh,
Uh,
classic, classic.
yeah, again, it's these are generic answers, generic films. Well, it might come across that way, but you know, I had my cultural influence with these types of films, mate. As iconic as they seem, just stuff that shaped my. These were the gateway to my horror collection. So yeah, these all started it off. If that makes sense. Jaws, mate. That were once I watched that, I never wanted to go to the seaside. That like I said, these all had quite a profound influence on me, really, subconsciously or not. It really did. So
Give people a newfound fear of the sea,
yeah,
which
that's
again, yeah,
why.
sign of a good film.
Yeah, Jaws. Now, when we went to uni together, mate, university, and I was studying kind of horror films, and to take Jaws as like a concept, if you can make something, if you can make a horror film around something that you do in day to day life, you're on to a winner. As in, like Jaws is about obviously going in the sea, and when you go on holiday, obviously that's people go on the holiday to see the seaside, don't they, and go in the sea. So to build a horror premise around that is a brilliant idea.
Everyday mundane things like
Yeah,
Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. Have you seen
yeah,
that? Mm,
I, I have, mate. Yeah, that's good as well. I enjoyed that because that makes you think twice again.
mm. What other things that are like mundane things being turned into a
Yeah,
horror concept?
uh, so it have you seen It Follows?
No.
No, that's brilliant. That's really really good. It's like again, I'm not gonna do spoiler alert for this because I want people to watch It Follows, so I'm not gonna ruin the experience for them. But it's a prime example of what we're talking about. So, something that happens in ordinary life, uh, and it involves around people as well. So a social aspect to it as well, because everyone's got to interact with each other. So it follows as a good example. You'll know exactly what I mean when you watch it. Essentially, okay.
Okay. So
Yeah,
just pivot to like making films. Like you made quite a few horror films, haven't you?
yeah,
How d- do you have any challenges? Or I guess you do, but what challenges do you face when trying to make the thing, the entity, the monster scary? Because it's
yeah,
oftentimes that it's very like behind the scenes, it's just like a very mundane thing, but in what way do you make that thing, scary to an audience?
yeah. The thing is, mate, we're like horror movies. That what I've learned from the past. Uh, you're never really satisfied with what you make anyway. You're not. It's kind of a big thing to accept that as an artist. You you have to get to a point where you're confident enough in what you've done the best you can. That's the point that I'm trying to make. You get to that point, and then in once you get to that point, there's a part of you that has to say, right, I've done what I can. This is it now. I'm going to push it into the worldwide, and everyone can see it, and everyone can have their opinion on it now. So yeah, I think you have to have a bit of courage, and you have to risk it in being an artist, because there's always that kind of people are always going to have opinions on and critique, aren't they, on art? It's subjective, mate. So I think you have to get to the point where you've done enough. You feel like you've done enough, and you're confident in what you've done. And then once you get to that point, that's your point to kind of post it, yeah, and see what people think.
So how do you know when you've reached that point?
Yeah, it takes a while, to be honest. It does take a while. Uh, for example, with you, mate, in the past, me and you've kind of edited a lot of my stuff, haven't you?
Yeah, that She Never Left recently come out.
Yeah,
Link will
yeah,
be below. Check it out.
yeah, exactly. And you know, obviously we've done a few edits before we've actually posted the main film. Uh, and really, it's just going over when I'm watching the draft edits. When I'm watching it, is this what I had originally planned, and is this how I want it to feel? Uh, and if the answer is no, then I'm not confident enough in the piece. So you have to keep going until you feel confident as an artist. That's the main thing in what you actually wanted.
Okay, so like talk about us collaborating because yeah, we have sort of gone backwards and forwards on the edit, and I know there are things that I've suggested that, oh yeah, why don't we do this, and you'd be like, nah, not doesn't really work like that. Nah, that looks that looks photoshopped. That I remember I tried my best to do that day for night shot, and it just
Yes, I remember. Yep.
yeah, I couldn't do that. And there are other things that you say, oh yeah, what if you do this and edit it this way? And I try it, and I'm like, it doesn't quite work out. We don't really have the coverage, or we don't have it. It doesn't quite link up. Like the eye lines are slightly off. But
Yeah, yeah,
I guess it's like you say that it's the feel of it as well.
yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. So going over what I've just said, for me, it sounds like I'm not explaining stuff very well, but for me, the horror process, it's not from interviews and that I've watched to famous film directors. They overcomplicate the process, and I've never felt like that at all. It's a very much how do I describe it? I'm very much in tune with horror movies and how they work, and I don't overthink. It's the basics, mate. It's like when you have a soundtrack in a horror film and then it goes all quiet, and people are like, "Well, I'm expecting a jump scare," because it's quiet, isn't it? It's like they're leading you on to something. Well, naturally, it's not something. If I didn't study film, I would know that anyway. It's something that's very naturally. I'm just well aware of the tools that I can play with, essentially.
You know how the sausage is made.
Yeah,
Mm. I
but
heard that the
yes,
other day, and I think that kind of applies though, doesn't it?
mate, I know exactly what tools are there, and as an artist, it's up to me to kind of mix them around and play with them. That's what I'm wanting to do. I don't want to make stuff that you've seen a million times before. I want to kind of be adventurous and try new stuff. So
Hmm.
yeah, I think it helps that I understand how it all works, and I understand the essence of the horror formula. But the point that I was trying to make, like you said previously, uh, for me, when I'm watching a horror film, it's all about creating a specific feeling. It's about evoking an emotion. That's the most important part.
Yeah. No, I get that. A question for you, being like a horror fan. Do
Yeah,
horror films have to be scary?
no, 100% no, no. They definitely don't, mate. No, because in all honesty with you, I think horror gets a bad rap sometimes for film directors purely going off the scare tactics and trying to scare audiences. Whereas if you try and think about a clever plot and have like quite clever, complicated characters in a horror movie formula. So let's say it's not scary, but it's quite the plot and the characters are quite intelligent, but it's told in a horror way. That's brilliant too because it's something quite different and it's not as cheesy as well as what a lot of horror formulas can be.
Hmm.
So to answer your question, definitely not, mate. Horror films don't have to, in my opinion, they don't have to be scary. No.
Okay. No, that kind of get
What
that
about
because
you?
I'm not sure. I've definitely seen horror films that haven't been like scary, but they've been sort of like macabre or like graphic or maybe at times disturbing.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
there's often like a sense of dread as well.
yeah.
So,
Again, it's that feeling. It's a feeling. It like to me, mate. The best horror films of them all. It's like listening to a piece of music. Like it's when you listen to a piece of music, mate, and you got your headphones in, you kind of feel you're fully immersed and soaked into what you're listening to, aren't you? And it creates some type of emotion for you. And I feel like horror films, I mean films in general, but horror films should do that too.
hmm. So what distinguishes horror films from other films, given what you said there?
Yeah, it it'd be the fear aspect, and it's a difficult question that really, isn't it? Uh, because horrors. It, it's like a tone. It's a tone to the film. It's dark. It's I would say fear, anxiety. Yeah, fear, anxiety. Um, it's a difficult question that, in all honesty, with you, Jeff. What do you think?
Hmm. I think it's more the dread that obviously other films that aren't horror films can have like scary moments or moments of dread.
Yeah,
But I think for having that as a core part of the film would make that horror. It's like Alien, for example. I have to say is my favorite horror film of all time.
yeah,
And there's some people say, oh, it's not horror, it's sci-fi. Well, I mean, it can be both. Like it's
yeah,
definitely science fiction, but it has that dread and that fear and scary moments as well as like a core part of that film. It's basically like a slasher film in space, essentially.
Yeah, yeah. I agree with you on that. Alien's brilliant film, brilliant. The
Mm,
sound design in that film is fantastic, mate. It's like wow, it just everything about it, and because it's obviously set in space, like you said, it just the whole kind of atmosphere and the tone of the films. Just I get emotional talking about it.
mm. In
It's
space, no one can hear you
classic.
scream.
You what? Sorry.
In space, no one can hear you scream.
Yeah, definitely. That film's timeless, and in another 50 years' time, that will still be one of the greats. It's I'm not going to say it's perfect because my personal opinion, art can't be perfect, but
Mm.
near as damn close to it, mate. It's as close as you're ever going to get.
Quick
Uh,
question: Alien or Aliens?
Alien. I'm always going to say, and I'm always inclined to say this, but nothing ever beats the original, in my opinion. There's a very there might be a few exceptions, but nothing ever beats the original, bro. That's a
Oh,
fact.
even Terminator?
I knew you were going to say that to me. I knew you. I'm still sticking to my guns. Yeah, nothing,
Fair
mate.
enough. I can respect
Originality.
that.
Yeah, originality. It's a time machine, mate. That's something that you can look back at and think, wow, this is what started it all off.
Mm.
It is though, isn't it? It's the originality. To me, it's a storyline was born, a whole new world was created at this point. So you can never be the original. Just
Mm.
no chance, no chance.
A whole universe was born, and a whole career of Arnold Schwarzenegger was also born. That film.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
that and Conan the Barbarian, like yeah, but the mixture of the two, yeah, definitely. But
yeah,
even the first Terminator, I say, is kind of like a slasher. There are some like
yeah.
horror, some dread elements to it, definitely.
Yes, yeah, it is. Uh, like I say, slightly going a little bit off tangent, but on the same lines of what you're saying. I think horror films nowadays are dead. I think they're dead. The formula, stop rebooting everything. It pisses me off.
Mm. Oh, I guess you say that for everything. Like franchises are sort of becoming the main thing. Oh yeah, look at sequel number 7 of this film. Like yeah, it may be good, but if that's all we're getting in the cinema,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've always, yeah, I've always been a big believer on. I don't like copycats. I don't. I feel like if you're an artist, you have to stand on your own 2 feet. You have to do what you want to do. You have to do something that's personal to you. So me trying to remake God knows how many Hollywood, it doesn't agree with me and my moral compass. I don't like it. I could never do something like that. Definitely not.
No, fair enough. Yeah, I respect that as well. No,
Yeah.
but I mean, surely there are some recent horror films that have made an impact. What's that one that you sent me with the trailer of Rink?
Yes. Yeah.
And
Uh,
have you seen that?
that's different. Yes. So I haven't seen the full film of that, buddy. Uh, funny enough, well, I'm not going to go into detail, but I watched that at a friend's house uh, after going out clubbing.
Oh,
So I was pretty, let's just say I was pretty tipsy.
oh, right, okay. Didn't get the full
uh,
experience then.
I was going to say, watching that while pretty tipsy is a weird experience. But yeah, that that's interesting film, by the way. Very interesting approach.
Hmm.
Very interesting approach, that.
Oh,
Just from
speaking
the
of,
trailer.
yeah, the trailer was really good. Ah, liked it. It
Yeah.
was had sort of backroomsy vibe. Well, speaking of which, A24 doing a backrooms film. Are you aware
Yes,
of the backrooms phenomena?
yes, I am. Yeah, A24's. By the way, some films that they've released is incredible. Their library, their catalogs, incredible, mate. In my opinion, they're taking horror to a whole new level. And when I said to you about franchise, like just repeating the same franchises,
Mm,
like 8 and 4 are like standing on their own, and they're just being like, you know what, we're gonna produce and make stuff that we you haven't quite seen before, which is brilliant.
nah, like that. We need more studios like that.
Yeah,
And
I love that material. Even if it's not, this is how strong I am about it. Even if the film's not good, I still admire them for what they're doing. Do you know what I mean? That's how I see it.
yeah, I get that. Like, it's the you admire the attempt, you admire the spirit.
Yeah. For example, mate, A24. Remember Hereditary when that
Yeah,
came out?
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I'm not. I'm not gonna slate it off and say it was okay. It was okay. Uh, but I didn't. The trailer, like, I felt like there was so much hype around it, and everyone was like, "It's brilliant. It's amazing." And then I watched it, and I was like, "Oh, it wasn't as good as I thought it would be." But you could say that in a lot of you could say that were a lot of marketing tricks what people use.
Mm. Speaking of watching
But
films while tipsy, I remember us going to watch what was it? Ghost Stories.
Suspiria, was
That
it
as well.
Suspiria?
We saw
Yeah,
both. We saw Ghost Stories while we were somewhat tipsy.
yeah, and Suspiria, the
Uh,
remake.
I remember sitting down and like you said to me, "Oh yeah, right." Same what you said now. Like, "Oh yeah, I prefer the original. I don't like all these remakes." And I looked over to you and said, bro, this is the remake. This is the new one." And I remember your face dropping with disappointment. I'm like, "Oh no, his heart's broken." No.
However, mate, I really enjoyed the. This is me telling you this. I really enjoyed the remake of Suspiria.
Me too, yeah.
He didn't. My point in saying all this, mate, it sounds like I'm contradicting myself. The reason why I don't like them is because I don't like them copying all the aspects of the original. However, with the film that we went to watch, that could have stood on its own franchise, couldn't it? Because that was nothing like the original of Suspiria. It was different.
Yeah,
Obviously, the story was the same in bits, but you know what I'm trying to say. The style was different.
definitely. Like a young American woman going off to a dance school in Germany or in
Yeah,
Europe, should I say.
yeah,
And it did have some interesting choices that the remake was set in 1977 and it used a load of techniques that like would be more prevalent at the time, like the choice of film stock, the grainy film, the crash zooms. But then again, the original was released in 1977, and that didn't have like the muted colors. It was very bright and vibrant, which kind of goes against what you'd conventionally think. But then again, that was a staple of giallo films.
yeah. You mentioned there, crash zooms.
Mm.
My guilty pleasure, buddy. My guilty pleasure. I love it. I love it.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't necessarily know why, but I just like when you use that in like a revealing moment, in a shock moment. I just think it works beautifully.
mm.
I just love it. I love that technique. I don't know why. I've just seen when a horror movie does it right, or not even when horror movies, but any movie, if any film can do that right in the right place, the right time, I just love it.
Django
I don't know.
Unchained.
Yes. Oh, mate.
Mm.
Tarantino. Love Tarantino.
Yeah, wasn't it? He said that he was going to do 10 films, and he was opting out, like retiring.
Yeah. You think
So
he'll stick to it?
I think he'll stick to it after his 10th, and then
He needs to do a horror film.
he would do. I
Yeah,
think he'll stick to it until money.
yeah. Two people who I need to do a horror film just because the film gods deserve this is Tarantino and Christopher Nolan
Who are
need
you
to
gonna
do
say,
a horror.
Nolan?
Yep, they need to
Yeah,
do a horror film.
Nolan needs to do a Bond film, in my opinion.
Yes, I agree with that too. I agree with that too.
Tell you what, though,
He'd be.
Oppenheimer had some harrowing moments. It was very like emotional and very like subjective in his point of view.
I'm gonna shock you here, mate, but I've not seen that yet, and I know you're gonna be so disappointed in me.
No, I'm not disappointed. I'm just gonna say that enjoyment is ahead of you.
Yes,
That is something
mate,
for
that's
you
a
to
good.
look forward to.
That's a good way of looking at it, buddy. I think going off what you just said with Nolan, I think he'd make a fantastic James Bond film, mate. I really do.
Mm,
I think for someone like Christopher Nolan as well, it'd be even better with obviously Daniel Craig's moving on now, isn't he?
yeah.
So I think if you're gonna make Nolan direct a Bond, why not have it be brilliant to start with a new cast as well? It'd be brilliant.
So now's the chance. Now's the chance.
It is, mate. It is,
Nolan
100%.
hasn't announced his next project yet. So who knows? Who knows?
Exactly. Something amazing about Nolan. Let's not just talk about his filmmaking skills. It's how he can connect and liaise with actors as well, mate. He's brilliant with performers. I,
Mm,
I think I think he gets the best out of his actors. I think that's partially why he's such a great director because he knows exactly what the characters are and he's very good at communicating with his actors.
definitely, yeah. Um, so are there any horror films coming up that you're looking forward to?
This sounds so disappointing, buddy. Right at the moment, no. There's some again. It's just it can make me upset at times. No, there isn't.
Oh,
The reality that is there isn't. There's plenty, mate. There's loads of films coming out, horror movies coming out, but I wouldn't say it's anything that I'm buzzing and excited for.
not even the A24 Backrooms film, because the director of it was the guy that made a load of the videos on YouTube using Blender,
Yeah, I know he
and
did. Yeah,
he was it 17 years old? It's probably
yeah,
not now. He's probably older now because that's how
yeah,
time works. But yeah,
uh, yeah. I'm interested for that film. Yeah, and I will. Don't get me wrong. I'll go and see it. But to answer your question, there's nothing that's getting me buzzing and excited for. But you have to look at it in a positive way. Maybe I'll go and watch one of these films and they surprise me how good it is.
I'm sensing cautious optimism from you.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
definitely.
Fair enough. If you haven't seen She Never Left Yet, link down below. Watch
Go
it.
and check it out.
Yeah, filmed it. Was it 3 years ago?
3 years ago,
Nearly
and
four
it and,
years
it,
ago.
and it's still as good as ever, mate.
Oh yeah, but glad it's out now. But yeah, I enjoyed editing that. That was pretty good. Well, yeah,
Fun making it too. Fun making that film.
yeah. Back before the world ended.
Yeah, mate, that should have been the caption line. No,
Oh,
that fun. When I look back on that film and I think about, uh, didn't realize at the time, but this is how time moves forward. That was it was just a bunch of friends getting together, enthusiastic about making. Well, everyone were helping me out because I had a vision and what I wanted to do, and just a bunch of like-minded people and optimistic people getting together to make something that I wanted to make. It's pretty cool, really. Like nothing, we didn't, nothing. the shoot went to plan, didn't it? Really, nothing really set us back. We were quite creative in terms of some obstacles that we did have, and we just went for it, didn't we? We were just let's try it, and it was a good mind. We all had a good mindset throughout that film.
Mm. Yeah, like that lighting thing where you use like a really harsh light and then
Yeah,
get cereal boxes and then cut out like strips to and then
yeah,
shine the light through it to create that blind effect.
yes. That way, I remember when we were doing that, and obviously you were my DOP on that set, and I remember when we come up with that idea, it was like a light bulb moment, weren't we? It was like, now that we said we got to try it now, we got to try it now, and we did it, and it worked a treat, didn't it? It looked brilliant. It looked good.
Yeah, the issue
Uh,
was like once we made it, it was very fragile, so we had to make sure to keep it somewhere where it wasn't going to get damaged or anything.
yeah,
And flat,
yeah,
because oh yeah. But no, that worked. Bit of emergency tape doesn't do any harm, does it?
exactly, mate. Yeah, exactly. But the pardon me, the atmosphere for that film, like everyone who were working on set, it was pretty upbeat, weren't it? It was pretty fun. It was engaging. Everyone
Mm,
had a everyone had a role to play in creating that. And then when I look back at the film now it's on YouTube and it's published. Brilliant memories, really. Good, a load of fun making it. A load of fun.
yeah. No, I like that. And
Even even with the scene where we had the green glove, where we took it off the wall, the picture off the wall.
yeah.
That scene, I was like, I'm not quite sure how we're going to do it in post because I don't want to be one of these people where I'm like, oh, Jeff, we'll worry about it in post. But at the same time, I was I was like, this would look cool though. I know it would. I just know it would. So we just did it, didn't we? We just did it.
Mm,
If it had
don't
to get cut out, it had to get cut out. But luckily, down to your amazing professional skills, uh, it didn't need to be cut out.
just a bit of rotoscoping. Can't do any harm, can it?
Exactly. And the feet as well in the shower. That part, I love that. This, when the beads hit the floor, and then we see like her feet in the shower with the blood. I mean, I love that part. I just love that part. That
Nah.
that scene right there is basically what I'm trying to say. That scene there is like, oh shit, like something's going down here.
Yeah, actually getting there and then gone.
Exactly, mate.
Well, Marcus, thank you very much for coming. Where can people find you?
Yeah. So Facebook is Marcus Marino. Instagram is Marcus Marino Gold 11, I believe. And that's pretty much it, mate. I'm quite
YouTube?
interested. YouTube,
Yeah,
uh,
find your films.
yes, Marcus Marino. That's about it, mate. Really, that's my online presence.
Okay, anything else you'd like to plug before we wrap this up?
No, like you said, mate. Just if they've got a bit of time, check the film out and see what we're on about because I think you'll enjoy it. It's what we call a little 8-minute terror, So
Yeah, I love that. Well, again, thank you. And yeah, if you can check Marcus out, please do. And if you like what you see or not already, please subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you later.
nice one. See you later, bro.